Hi, and welcome to the Breakthrough Emotional Eating podcast. My name is Kristen Jones, and thank you so much for joining me this week. It's not just me this week again. Yes, this is the second week in a row that I have been graced with amazing women to join me here on the podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about the mental aspect of losing weight. And is it really necessary? Is it really necessary for you to look deeper at the mental aspect, how you feel about yourself, different things that have gone on in your life? Do you need to take that look? Do you need to go to the mental and emotional place? And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to chat with that. I have two amazing guests that are going to share their story with you about their. I never want to use the word journey because I know journey reminds some people of The Bachelor. So we're going to say their stories and their path that they've gone on. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at that. So I'm really, really excited. If you are listening on the podcast and you are not a member of the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community here on Facebook, you definitely want to join us. This podcast goes live every Wednesday in the group. So the members of the group are able to be live on the podcast, and then our podcast gets released a week later. But really would love to have you be a member of the group, particularly because it is such a supportive and encouraging and just amazing group of women who are really all very like-minded, very much looking for answers and solutions to the age-old mystery of how do you lose weight and how do you really manage your emotional eating? How is that done? And that's what we address in the group. So really would really be excited to have you there. So if you are interested, please, you can absolutely search for Breakthrough Emotional Eating in Facebook. You just go to the little search tab and click on groups and you can find the group. But also you can just go to www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough and join us in the group. Love, love, love to have you there. So let's get to all of the things that we're going to talk about today. So as I had mentioned last week when I interviewed Denise Singer, who is a member of the Breakthrough Emotional Eating group, I had talked about how Denise is a member of the group and she accesses the material in the group, and she has been incredibly successful with her weight loss. I should give you an update this week. I know last week it was 29 pounds, which is just phenomenal, and she's just feeling so much better. But her outlook on life and just her overall happiness is just she was happy anyway, but now she's just over the top happy and just really, really enjoying the path that she is on. And I had mentioned there's different levels and different not only levels of service that I offer, but also there's different people that fit into those. And so what I really wanted to talk about today was I wanted to talk about members of the group that have chosen to take another step and go a little bit deeper in their examination of their emotional eating as well as their weight loss. And so I have two fabulous women on my podcast today. I have Janelle. Janelle, I'm always going to mess up your name. Is it Lorraine?
Loringer.
Loringer. It's much prettier the way you say it.
Thank you.
Janelle Loringer and Julie Pitt. And they're gonna share a little bit of their story and just I'm excited for them to share with you what they've been through, how far they've gone, where they're headed to, all the things that they've learned. So let's get to the things. So ladies, thank you first off so much for joining me today. I'm honored to have both of you here, and I appreciate your time and your effort and your energy, and really am happy that you're here. So what I want to start off with is asking both of you, where were you before you came into the group? One, how did you find the group? And then where were you in your weight loss journey before you entered the group, and then how you found the group? So Janelle, I'll start with you.
Okay. I found the group. Let me back up. I'm a personal trainer, and I didn't look like a personal trainer, and I still don't actually. I'm not tiny and bouncy, but I am compact. But anyway, I was not happy with where I was because I felt like the example that I was giving was not the best it wasn't the best example. My clients really don't care because most of them are just there to be able to be functional. So anyway, so one of my clients actually referred me to this group, and that was really exciting. And I checked it out, and I was excited. I got into the group. I started posting. I started checking out the guides because those were really helpful, and that was really effective for me and my style of learning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so where did you come in with any sort of idea about what you were looking for to learn in the group?
I came in hoping that, well, when I started doing the guides and the other podcasts that you had done, when I started researching those, I found that you were addressing reasons that I had just totally left behind, and I was doing it by sheer willpower.
Mm-hmm.
And I usually ran out of that about 5 o'clock in the evening. So, so yes, I was looking to find a good, hard, keepable, I don't know if that's the word, but a reason and a way that I could be successful in weight loss. And the reason wasn't so I would look good in a bikini.
Mm-hmm.
It was so I would be healthy and be able to do all the things I want to do.
Mm-hmm. Great. Julie, what about you?
Well, I had just joined Weight Watchers for the 30th time, probably. I was just scrolling through Facebook, and your page popped up, like an ad for it or something. I'm not sure exactly how it came on my page, but so I thought, I just clicked on it, and when I started reading it, I just thought, well, this is not anything I've ever thought about. So I started just reading everything that you had and listening to your podcasts, and I thought, this is me.
Mm-hmm.
So
and you had
by accident.
Right. And you had shared, you had done, and like you mentioned about Weight Watchers, you had just signed up again. So you were really actively looking for a solution.
Yeah. Yes. But I didn't think about it because I've done it so many times. I thought, well, let me try it one more time,
Right. So I'm going to ask both of you, when it came to being in the free group, and Janelle, you kind of alluded to it, what was the thing that kind of like made you say, this is a little bit different than what I've heard before? What were the things that that made you think like, okay, this I can get on board with? Janelle, we'll go to you.
We didn't talk to food. We didn't talk about what you should eat and when, or we didn't measure, we didn't count calories. We didn't do anything like that, which is we're traditional. We didn't do points or anything like that. We talked about, are you hungry? Do you know when you're satisfied? And talking about urges and talking about the primal brain. Oh, my primal brain. Oh my goodness. It and I are having a lot of conversations these days. It's like a 2-year-old that just keeps running off,
Right.
and I'm learning how to say, no, we're not doing that today, but not successfully all the time. 70% success is awesome. I've lost 19 pounds. And I've been at this spot for about 4 weeks now, and I want to lose another 14, but I'm not impatient with this process because I know that I have to build a lot of habits and a lot of thinking patterns in order to do this successfully. So I'll take it as it goes and just be kind to myself.
Yeah. Julie, what about you?
I just same as Janelle, I just never had thought about the emotional part. And and then I was listening to the podcast, and you were talking about emotions and sitting with emotions, and all things that I had never even considered doing.
So for both of you, Janelle, you had done my boot camp, and we had a conversation about that, about you jumping on board with that. And so what was that boot camp experience like for you? How was that? What did that do for you when it came to kind of your movement in the direction of where you wanted to head?
Well, I was in a group of probably 12 ladies, and I do really well when I'm interchanging information with them also. And we were, sharing our planners, and we were actually saying, this is what happened today and this is how I dealt with it. And I learn really well from that. And I learn a lot from repetition, because it's not always the first time that I catch it. It's like when I really have to learn something, it usually takes a 4x4. So so it takes a lot of time, and the repetition, and it doesn't mean I'm stupid. It just means I have old behaviors I need to unlearn, and I am slowly but surely working at that. But I work really well with that kind of structure, and it had worked great for me. And from a personal standpoint, I am much more accepting of myself, and because I have been able to see that, one, I'm worth doing this for, and it's just a wonderful place to live. I'm I'm not beating myself up or anything else like that as much as I used to. It doesn't mean I won't, but it means that I'll try not to. So
Yeah. And Julie, for you, you were in the group and you were following along on things, and
Yes.
you were being really successful. You had actually remind me, you had actually already lost some weight before you actually decided to join the membership.
Yes. I just doing what, I was learning by the group with the podcast. I had lost maybe 6 pounds or so. But I just kind of came to a place where I was not understanding a lot of it. Like, I need examples, especially when it comes to things with emotions. Like, I didn't grow up expressing emotions. I don't realize, really, honestly, when I was having some of the emotions that I was having.
Right.
And a lot of the things that were in the podcast or the papers, I just didn't understand really how to do, without having these other ladies to give examples,
Right. So how has being in the membership, how has that changed things for you in a sense of your understanding of everything?
Well, I'm getting a lot of understanding. I'm getting a lot. I'm feeling emotions now. I think today, honestly, is the first time I've actually sat with an emotion like you have suggested, and I actually did, and I just let it. And it was anxiety, and I thought, okay, don't just run this off or turn it, like I usually try. I did. I just sat there with it, and I was like, "Why are you feeling this way?" And I never had a clue how to sit and feel an emotion before.
Right.
I would just want to go have something to eat just for instant satisfaction. It doesn't make the problem go away. It makes you feel better right then because you enjoy the food.
Right.
But this, I didn't go get something to eat. I just sat there with it and let it be. And then I went on.
Yeah. Yeah. And that took care of it.
Yeah, it did.
Oh my gosh.
Like Janelle, I need repetition and to hear different ideas from, different people. And then it clicks with me. It's something you've not dealt with before.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And talk to me both. I would love to hear both of your opinions about and for everybody's, for those of you in the group, those of you listening on the podcast, a little bit of structure and a little bit of context about what happens in the membership group. There is a curriculum. I know it sounds really school-like, but y'all remember I was a teacher. So there is a course that you follow. So there are videos that they, each week they get a little bit of homework. They watch some videos, and then there's worksheets that they get to do. And then those worksheets, we also have twice a week coaching calls. And the coaching calls kind of support the work that they've done in the coursework, and it allows us to be able to it allows for people to be able to learn in a different way. Not everybody learns from hearing things, from hearing my voice. Sometimes you have to watch a video, sometimes you have to read something, sometimes you have to actually do some writing. We're big into writing, big into journaling, getting our emotions down and getting it out. And so that is the most significant difference. Is there is an action, there's a very strong structure to the way our weeks go. We have our twice a week coaching calls. They know those are always happening. And we learn something, different each week. And each coaching call is addressing a different aspect of emotional eating. And it is a much deeper dive into the things that people need to understand. So I would love to hear from the two of you. What is something like a worksheet or a video or something that you have experienced that has been a significant, like kind of either just something that you can think of, like, oh, that video or that worksheet was like, that really did it for me. So,
Yeah, I was thinking of the brain dump because, and what I love is that we got strategies and they were 1, 2, 3, 4, and we could follow that, follow that. So the brain dump was really good for me. And the other beautiful thing about the way that it's structured is you don't give us so much to do that we are trying to do too much at one time and get overwhelmed. Yes, she gave us 7 pages of homework one time, but but it was all interspersed. And by the time you worked through that systematically, it was a real eye opener. So the brain dump, where you're feeling something, and especially if it's an emotion that is just big, I just throw up on paper and just write it down. And by the end of it, I've usually resolved some of the issues that I'm dealing with, or at least I can see it for what it really is. So that's very good for me.
Right. And just as a side note of the brain dump. So the brain dump, as Janelle very appropriately said, it is like vomiting on a piece of paper. You're just getting all of your thoughts down. And then what I ask everyone to do is then you look and you think, okay, so of all the things that I've written down, where are the facts, like the legit facts, and where is the stuff that my brain is making up that's making me feel terrible, that's making me feel horrible? And we come to realize that, holy moly, most of the time when we are thinking something and it is upsetting us, it's not that it's a fact, it's what we're making about it, what we are making it mean about us, and how we are creating all of the drama within our own heads. And it just kind of gives you some reality of like, oh, okay, I'm doing this to myself. That doesn't work. So yeah, the brain dump is really, that is very, very powerful. And it's something anybody can do anytime. Julie, what about you? What do you think?
As basic as it is, the sheet where we write down our meal plan and gratitude, and how we're going to talk to ourselves. I couldn't even do that for a while. Like, how are you going to talk to yourself today? I thought, what does this mean? I mean,
right.
What do you mean? But as basic as that is, I'm learning now. I'm not as far as the brain dump sheet yet. I've not done that. I've done I've listened to the lessons, but I've not even gotten as far as being able to do that yet. Figuring that out, but I'm on my way now. I'm on my way now to figure.
And I think that, and I so appreciate you saying that, Julie, because that is kind of one of the cool things about the group, is that everybody addresses, like, all of that stuff is available to you. And when you're ready to take that step and you're ready to do that, then that's your path. It's where you are. And so, everybody is on a different place, and has a different path that they're going down. And so, the fact that you're not ready to do that is right. You're in the exact spot of exactly where you need to be. And I know that you have gotten some amazing knowledge and amazing, breakthroughs that you've had, in spite of not, even though that is a piece that you haven't done yet, it doesn't matter. There's so many other things, and we each just take our own path, and we each mark where we are as a spot of growth. And that's perfect, because that's exactly where everybody needs to be, exactly in their own spot. So I think that's really valuable. I would love to hear from both of you. What do you, of all of the different things, and I know I'm going to tell y'all, I'm totally putting them on the spot right now. But we've had some coaching calls. I'm going to admit to everybody here, and they both know this is true. that regularly I cry on coaching calls. I will, because, and I'll be honest about it, because what we start talking about things and I hear other people talking about what their viewpoint of what I'm teaching, I will get things that come back to me that all of a sudden, I mean, there was a coaching call a week and a half ago that I like could not control myself because I all of a sudden made a connection and I was like, oh my gosh, like I never saw it that way because somebody else was talking about it. And that's the power of being in a group and being on a group coaching call, because I heard it from a totally different, a different side. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, like that's true, but that's true about me too. And I just became overwhelmed with the fact that I was so grateful to be sitting there and realizing that like I get to learn too. Like every moment I get to learn something new, that everybody else is learning something new and I'm learning something as well. So, but thinking about the coaching calls and the different activities and the things that we're doing, is there anything from the coaching call standpoint that kind of stands out as something that either was an eye opener or, was especially powerful? So Janelle, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I even think of the coaching call that we did. My mom fell and broke her hip, and I really want her to do things exactly the way I want her to do them. And I was getting frustrated with her. And Kristen asked me the question, so why are you getting frustrated? And as we talked it out, I figured out that it's because she wasn't doing it my way. And that was like, oh, well, that's not very nice or kind. Or so learning how to not run the whole world and demand that they do it my way. But it was because of well-placed questions that those things came out. And it happens now. I can look at, if I'm irritated with somebody, look at now what must be going on here, and who's not doing it your way. But anyway, they've been great, and especially when you hear other people be coached too, because then you can always grasp something from their experience and the strength that they show and the courage that they show to face things. It's amazing. I mean, it's very inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe the question that is always my question of du jour is always, so what are you making that mean about you that she won't do what you want her to do? That's always my good one. So what does that mean about you? Julie, what about you?
I think, excuse me, I'm sorry. We were having a coaching call and discussing, we were talking about wanting to eat, and hoarding food or wanting to eat when you weren't hungry. And somebody just put the question up, was there ever a time when you didn't have enough? And I was like thinking, no, there was no time when I never didn't have enough food, that would not be, but it wasn't, did you not have enough food? Like in my case, it was money when we were growing up. And that was a revelation to me, just not, my aunt used to buy our school clothes, and if she wouldn't have, we wouldn't have had new school clothes. So, and how that would relate to emotional eating.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you and I have talked about that because that's my thing as well, is that the issue of money and not having enough money. And I had food restriction issues as well, but money was always an issue. And it was always something that I always felt like that outsider looking in, that everybody else had it and I didn't. And then that caused me to feel like that, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I in this position? And you and I definitely connected on that, in the sense of like, ooh, that's something we got to go into. So yeah, that's definitely, and it's, again, it's hearing those things from a different standpoint and from a different viewpoint that really allows you to kind of see it differently and be like, oh, okay. Oh, that does relate to me. Okay. Maybe that's something that I need to look at. So it's always that exploring and kind of seeing, just other people's lives. And also, I know for me, and I don't know if I don't know if the two of you feel like this, but it's so comforting to know that I'm not the only person that feels this way, and that people are, and I think both of you have said that people are brave enough to share what they're going through, and it's a safe environment, and it's just, it really is, I find it's so moving for me to see how people are so willing to, their bravery of being willing to look at these things, because I know for me, there was just a long time where like that was too scary and I did not want to do that. And so I just kind of thought, well, if I just ignore it, it'll go away. And if I just go on another diet and I lose a little bit more weight, then I'm going to be okay. And suddenly all this is going to go away. And realizing that that is just, it's absolutely not the direction that it's going to happen in. So Janelle, go ahead. Mhm.
It's also, this is not a program about deprivation. This is really a program about gifting yourself with good nutrition.
Mhm.
And we're not even counting calories here, but gifting
Mhm.
yourself with self-care and nutrition
Mhm.
and figuring out that you really are worth taking care of.
Mhm. Mhm.
And if you do that, then then the weight loss is kind of an added benefit.
Right, right. Yeah, I definitely, and I definitely know for me that is what I almost feel like what we talk about, and the deeper work that we're doing is what the program's really about. And the weight loss is kind of like, it's just an extra bonus. That's just a highlight. That becomes something that's just like the add-on. But that the work and the getting to know yourself and really understanding who you are and your value. And I think that the word value and worth is just, I think that's something that we talk about all the time, is our own value and valuing ourselves, and realizing that we're worth the effort and the time, and that we do matter. And I think that's what I always want everyone to know, that everyone does matter. I would love, as a just a last thing, what would be your best piece of advice to anyone out there who's thinking like, well, I don't really, I know, I think I may be an emotional eater. I'm not sure what I need to be doing. What would be the thing that you would suggest to those people? And this could be people who are already in the group, anybody who's listening on the podcast. What would be your piece of advice when it comes to just being ready to look at this kind of thing?
I would say that cultivate an attitude of willingness,
Mhm.
to learn, and throw yourself into whatever you're comfortable throwing yourself into as far as gaining knowledge,
Mhm.
and then take the time to let it start to go from here into your heart. That is really where the rubber meets the road. I think that if we can find a sense of awareness within ourselves of what we're doing.
Mhm.
I just have always gone so fast that I didn't look or think about the sun was beautiful today, I'd go out into my garden and say, there's so many weeds here. But now I go into my garden and go, wow, things are looking pretty good. Yeah, there's weeds, but yeah, it's okay. I'll take some out and more will grow. But
Right.
it is about a willingness and and just learning and applying yourself.
Mhm.
It is so worth the effort. If all you learn is to love yourself, then you have been successful.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Julie, what about you?
That's what I think. I started out just trying to learn with the podcasts and the information that you gave us in the
Mhm.
group. And you start doing that, you realize there's a whole lot more that you need to
Mhm.
learn. And like Janelle said, just let it go from your head into your heart.
Mhm.
And, it just, one of my favorite things that I'm doing is the gratitude walk. The morning it- my day so much better. Just go spend 10 minutes by
Mhm.
myself with God and
Mhm.
walking and talking and,
Mhm.
actually recognizing the things that I'm grateful for,
Mhm.
say them out loud.
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
has it just changed my whole attitude. I'm a happier person, and I think I'm better to, be around. Even if I get home from a bad day at work, I'm just, have a different attitude.
Right, right. Oh, that's so cool. Well, ladies, I can't thank you enough for coming. And I think you shared so much valuable information with the listeners, with the people in the group. So thank you so much for your time. I so appreciate and love working with both of you. So those of you who are listening, those of you who are in the group, thank you so much for being a part of this very special podcast. For anyone in the Facebook group, if you have any questions that you want to ask, we're going to, after we sign off here, we're going to pop on over and I will read any questions that we have. So if anybody wants to post any questions in the group, either for Janelle or for Julie, you're more than welcome to do that. So, and we'll pop over into the group in just a moment. But those of you on the podcast, thank you so much for listening. And again, if you are not a member of the Breakthrough Emotional Eating community on Facebook, we want you there. So come on over and be part of the fun. So www.facebook.com/groups/food breakthrough, and come and be a part of the community and all of the good things that are happening. Thank you so much again for listening, and we will see you all next week. Thanks. Bye, y'all.